Welcome back to the DeadThree Coaching Show. I am George Evjen, and thank you again for taking the time to listen to another one of our episodes. Today, I want to talk to you about something that might shake your mindset a little bit. It has for me. I've heard this message going on years now. I consume a fair amount of Ed Mylett, and along with all these other folks that I listen to, and the Dan Martell and Gary Vee and Ben Newman and some of these other folks that I listen to. And I've heard this message before. I've heard the stories that he has for this message, and it always hits me because I believe it is true with the mindsets that I have and the direction that I go and the limiting beliefs that I have and the sabotage that ultimately I have with the things that I'd like to be doing and the visions that I have for my life and the things that I'd like to be doing. But because there is a good chance that you've been measuring the distance wrong on this. I'm talking about your goals, your dreams, and the vision that you've been carrying with your life and how this plays into this. You all have the phrase, and we all think about the phrase of someday, of next week, of January 1st, of this quarter, this release, the next sale. And we get stuck in this mode of someday. And Ed Mylett just hits it really strong here in a message I heard early this morning on a walk. And it was kind of this compilation of a number of his episodes. And it really hit me because it was the message in the entire compilation. But the quote is this: "You're much closer to your dreams and the vision you have for your life than you think you are. But because," that's the end of the quote, "but because we think we are so far away from that dream, that vision, that goal, that success, that win that we might have, then we start to sabotage ourselves because what Ed Mylett says is we are only going to go after what we feel we are worth or that we're worthy of having. And if we don't feel that we're worthy of these dreams or goals, we're going to sabotage ourselves a little bit to keep us in our place." He talks about a personal thermostat that we all have. That in order to reach those dreams and goals and vision that we have for our life, our thermostat, my thermostat, needs to be running a lot hotter than it is now. And because I'm not programmed or don't feel I'm worthy of that, then I'm always going to settle in at 70. When I know I need to be set to 80 or 85. And when I start getting near that, and I start getting closer to that dream, those visions I have of my life, I'll immediately set the thermostat back down to where I'm comfortable and where I feel I'm worthy of and capable of. But that quote, "You're much closer to your dreams or your vision than you think you are," the vision you have for your life than you think you are. And again, listen, I know that immediately sounds like a whole bunch of motivational throwaway lines. But most of us are not stuck because of lack of ability. But we convince ourselves that we're miles away from any of this working out. Any of it. It's not a distance issue. It's a depth perception issue. Let that sink in a little bit. It's not how far away you are. It's just your perception, your depth perception of how far you think you are. How far I think I am. When I feel like I'm much closer. When I need to realize that I am much closer to achieving the goals and the dreams and the vision that I have for my life. And for, a business. For DeadThree coaching or whatever business you're in, whatever you're trying to accomplish, we have to understand that we're a lot closer. Now, what we're trying to tell actually some of the people we work with and we consult with and we talk with and conversations we have is, it's, again, to go back to kind of DeadThree staple things, paint reality of where you currently are and then paint the compelling vision of what this is going to look like, where you're going. But at the end of the day, you could have this great vision. You could have these great goals, these great systems, but at the end of the day, it's got to be action, it's got to be work, it's got to be consistency, And it's got to be progress every single day. Because all these dreams and visions, but if you're willing to do that, if I'm willing to do that, then we're not that far away. It's a depth perception issue, not a distance, not that it's never going to happen, not that you're not worthy of it. Resources, education, money, friends, influence, all that. Those are all the limiting beliefs. Those are all the things you say to yourself that I say to myself that are just not true, and it is the self-sabotage that we talk about. But understand this podcast, I enjoy this. I enjoy prepping for it. I enjoy consuming things. I enjoy wrapping my mind around how I can be a better human being with all this, how I could coach and lead others because of all this content I consume, and then being able to get it out of my mind and onto tape so you all can consume it, and maybe something happens where it hits you a certain way. But the dreams and goals and ambitions that I have, and that the things that I would like to be doing, you have to understand, and the things you're doing, you have to understand that we are potentially one decision away, one podcast away, one conversation away, one, happy hour away, one phone call away, one conference away. The story that this resonates in my mind is to frame it in the sports world and basketball. Ja Morant, who is an NBA All-Star, one of the top rising young talents in the NBA. He was not being recruited by anybody at the Division I level when he was in high school. And he was at an AAU event, and he was at the early morning game, like an 8 a.m. game or a 9 a.m. game. And he was already in the gym. He was at the gym. He was in a gym, but it was the furthest court all by himself. And he was just there working out at 7, 8, or 9 a.m. on a Saturday. Nobody in the gym. This coach walks by with, a breakfast burrito and a hot cup of coffee and walks into a gym and just watches him. Just a random encounter. Just randomly walks into the gym. Ja Morant is there all by himself working out. And he is just grinding. He's working. He's not doing it for show. He's doing it because maybe it's everything that he's always done. And this coach walks in and sees him from a distance, immediately picks up his phone, calls the head coach and says, "Hey, you need to come see this kid play. We need to watch this kid play. I'm going to figure out who he is." He was an assistant coach at Murray State, called his head coach at Murray State. Murray State watched him play that morning and immediately gave him a scholarship after that first game. That's the story I have. You're one moment away. You're one decision away. Think about this. But how many goals in your life have just felt so massive until they didn't? Ja Morant, and I've seen video of his summer routine of jumping in and out of tires and flipping tires and all the shooting he did and in the heat outside and all that. No excuses, just continuing to grind. But how massive that must have felt of, hey, I'm going to be an NBA All-Star. I'm going to play in the league. And how massive that goal must have been for him. That vision of his life. Until it didn't. Until it didn't feel massive. The moment you make one phone call and everything shifts. The time you said yes to an uncomfortable opportunity. And because you got a connection, or somebody reached out to you, or somebody followed up with you, or you got the one conversation that literally can change your life, that Ja Morant wakes up at 6 a.m., grabs his basketball and his shoes, gets to the gym by himself, finds the furthest court that he can find, not to show off, not to be in front of anybody necessarily, but just to go work because that's what he is supposed to do, that is what he trained to do, and that's because that's what his goals demand. And his dreams demand that level of work. Or what about the day you finally stopped stalling, I stopped stalling, and just started putting things into motion? to be great, to do great things, to have great impact, and to shift what you're doing with your life. What feels out of reach for all of us is often just one decision and one action away. We talked with our basketball team as we finished up June. The coach affords me a little bit of time to talk with the kids, usually after some games. And we were talking, and I mentioned to the team that we were working with, I said, listen, you got 4 months off until the season really begins, until November is around, however many months that is, July, August, September, October, November 1st. So we have 4 months. We are capable of doing some great things. We have great kids with some talent and skill, and they really know how to play the game and all that sort of stuff. But what we talked about was work and discipline and focus and all that. But one thing I told them was, you've got to wake up every day, and you've all heard this phrase before. But I said, there's the phrase, I heard it originally from John Gruden when he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it was just like, we're going to pound the rock every day. We're going to get our hammer out, and we're going to start swinging, and the rock's not going to crack for a long time, but we're going to swing every day. So you have to swing the hammer every single day, and it may not break for years. There was a story that I heard this morning of somebody that was doing these meet and greet things at conferences, and it was Gary Vee, Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's standing there. And if you don't know who Gary Vee is, he's a big time marketer and internet, social media guy on YouTube and Instagram. He's outstanding. I have followed Gary Vee for years, and he may be responsible for why I got involved in and got interested in creating some content. But this gentleman stands up next to him, supposed to get his picture taken, and he said he blamed him. It looked like it was going to be confrontational. And Gary Vee was really cool about it. He's like, hey, just tell me what's going on. What am I responsible for? He was like, I put out content 2 or 3 times a day, and I've done it for years. Nothing. And he seemed agitated. It seemed like it was going to get confrontational. And he said, until last month. And all these years, and all this content, and following this blueprint and game plan to do great things, just like you said. And nothing happened until it did. And now this gentleman was talking about his business and the money and the clients and the impact and the value and the contribution that he's able to provide. And I bring that up because at some point you just got to keep bringing the hammer to work. And you got to wake up with the hammer, and you got to continue to swing, because you don't know when that call is going to happen. But let me say this again. What feels out of reach is often just one decision, one action, one podcast, one phone call away. And it's not some big, always, doesn't need to be, always some big transformation. It's often something simple as a bold conversation, a shift in your routine, a moment of honesty, vulnerability, attending a conference, taking somebody out to lunch. That could change your life. I wanted to be a college basketball coach more than anything growing up. My mom would say I wanted to coach college basketball since I was like 10 years old. And I watched the game, and I had notebooks apparently, and I wrote plays down and box scores and stats and all this sort of stuff. Basketball consumed me since I was really young. And I didn't know anybody. And I just started going to clinics at 17, 18 years old. And I went from Seattle, Washington, down to Portland, Oregon as an 18-year-old to attend a conference that was going to be Seth Greenberg, who was at Long Beach State at the time. This is, I'm an old man now, so 18 was a long time ago, but I still remember the people they had at that conference. Seth Greenberg, Mike Bray, and I sat next to a gentleman in the front row, and for whatever reason, even at 18 years old, I was really good at taking notes, and I've always had really good penmanship. And for whatever reason, I've always liked pens. And I'm sitting in the front row next to an older gentleman, and he liked to take notes. He took good notes. He loved basketball, and he really liked pens. So as we're taking notes, and I have no idea who this guy is, he sees me writing all these notes, and he leans over and he says, "What kind of pen do you have?" And I said, "Well, this is a Papermate. It's my go-to pen." And started talking about it, and I just thought it was funny having two guys talk about the best type of pens that are on the market at the time. And then he says later, after watching me take these notes and being really attentive to the speakers, "Let me take you to lunch." So he takes me to lunch, asks me what I'm going to do, what I want to be doing, what my goals are, where I'm at, where I go to school, all this sort of stuff. And I say, "I'm transferring to the University of Utah in the fall. And I would really like to be connected with their basketball program and help out in some way. I don't know what that would be. Give me your phone number," is all he said to me. And we had lunch and we did all that. That was a Saturday. Monday, I'm back in my dorm room at the college that I was attending at the time, getting ready to transfer to the University of Utah, and my phone rings and it's the head coach at the University of Utah, inviting me in to end up being a part of their basketball program as like a student manager, which was unbelievable. And I just bring that story up because you just don't know. The one decision of, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm passionate about. I'm 18 years old and I'm going to go to a coaching conference, and I didn't really know how I don't even remember knowing how I got down there or what I did to get down there. But it's one decision. It's one conversation. It's being all in. It's being super passionate. It's waking up every day with a hammer in your hand and you're going to swing at some rocks. But here is the thing we typically tell ourselves. I'll go after it when I'm more prepared, or once I have more time, or once I get more education, or once I find somebody that's an expert that will mentor me, or after the busy season, or back when I'm more prepared. Does all that sound familiar? It does for me as I'm building DeadThree. There's always going to be more time. It's got to be more perfect. The phrase that we've heard probably many times is, don't worry about perfection, just worry about progress. Let's just get better today. Let's do something today. But that mindset is exactly what keeps us from moving the treadmill towards our greatness and towards our impact and towards our value. But you run on this treadmill, you run on this hamster wheel, and you are going and going and going. But you're never arriving. Because you've trained your brain to believe that it's always out of reach. I've done that with DeadThree. I'm working on that not happening anymore with DeadThree, that I'm moving forward, that we're going to be doing one-on-one coaching, team coaching, speaking, courses, community, problem solving, workshops, office hours, like all this sort of stuff that we're talking about with DeadThree. But that is the mindset that just keeps us on the treadmill, sometimes with an incline we can't handle and a speed we can't keep up with. And it's our limiting beliefs that, hey, we're spinning, but I just can't reach it. So what if today we let that mindset go? What if today we acted like our dreams, our visions of our life really weren't that far away, but they're right around the corner? One phone call, one conference, one action, one conversation towards our greatness. All of that is waiting for us to show up. All of it. As we always do, there's going to be 3 questions here, 3 actions for us as we wrap this up and try to keep it under 25 minutes. But what dream have we been keeping at arm's length because it just feels way too far away? What is just so close, but we think it is so far away? And what decision, what is that dream? What are we hoping happens? I could rattle off 10, 15 things. If you're listening to this when it's released, Q3 starts today or tomorrow, whenever you consume this. Q3 started. What is our dream for Q3? What are we trying to accomplish? What impact are we trying to have? Who are we trying to help? Who are we trying to support and uplift? What organizations are we trying to make better? What are we doing professionally to move us to where we can move towards our level of greatness? Why are we keeping that so far away when it is a lot closer than we think? One phone call, one conversation, one conference, one podcast, one social media post. What decision could you make today to close that gap? We should wake up every day, and it'll be here maybe in our actions here about what we just need to take action just a little bit. Wake up every day with a hammer and just start swinging. What decision could you make today that would close that gap? The last question, have you been misjudging the distance when really it's all your mindset? We have to believe, one, that we're worthy of it. Two, it is a reasonable and worthwhile dream and goal and vision. And three, it is a lot closer than we think. Change our mindset. We're worthy of it. It is reasonable, significant, and valuable for us and for me. And it is really close. And all we have to do is create action, speak it into existence, tell people we're doing it, get support from the people that know you, love you, support you, and go. Here are the 3 actions that we need to take today. We need to start these immediately. Write down the one dream that you have. Write down the one dream that you have that you are holding back. Be really specific with that. Mine is DeadThree. I'm all in on this business-wise. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing for a while. We're going to wake up every day with a hammer. We're going to go over there in my basement and we're going to read and consume content. We're going to figure out how we can position that professionally. And we are putting word out there that we are here to support everybody and every organization and teams and leaders and making things great. Identify one action, just one action that would move that dream forward. It's a call, it's an appointment, it's an email, it's a post, it's a LinkedIn conversation, it's a message, it's a text message. It's any conversation you can have. Just do one thing every day. That big rock that is in front of you that looks massive, that is never going to break. Just start swinging. And the last action item for you and for me is to do that today. Do it today. Every day. I'd encourage you, not a plug here, but I guess it is a plug. Go get the DeadThree Performance Planner. It's on Amazon. Go to our website. Get the DeadThree Performance Planner, and every single day, write down in that planner what you intend to do for that big dream, what you intend to do with the big rock that is in front of you. That is the value, the purpose, the mission for what you want to do in life. Don't do it next week. Don't do it when you think you're ready, and don't do it when you think everything's got to be perfect. Do it today. And just in closing in all this, you're not broken, I'm not broken, we're not behind, no matter how gray the hair gets, no matter how bad the eyes get, and no matter how old we feel. We are not behind, we are not broken, and we have time to still have the impact, to still set the example for our children, to still show our children and the people around us that I'm willing to fight for my greatness. And we have to remember that we are closer than we think, and once we start acting like it, that it's true, once we start acting like that is true, that it's not that far, everything will change. I do believe in the law of attraction and all that. I believe in the mindset. I believe in what you think that gets magnified. I believe it comes at you. I believe that you become more aware of opportunity when you focus on the opportunities that are around you, when you're grateful for it, when you write it all down every single day and you look for it in all the places of your daily life and activities, that you start to attract it and recognize it and you take advantage of opportunities. I believe in all that. But let's start taking action now. Go to our website, connect with us, have conversation with us. We're posting this. We're trying to put as much content out as we can. And this has been a great conversation. But thank you for listening to the DeadThree Coaching Show. I hope something in this episode sparks something in you. Could you please just do this for me? Just share it with somebody. Share it with somebody you think that has greatness written all over them and they're playing way too small. Ben Newman says, you got to play so big that it embarrasses you, scares you, and you don't even want to talk about it because you don't want to be embarrassed. Now we're starting to think big enough, is what he says. But let's stop pretending that we're miles away when really we're one step away from impact. Thank you. Have a great rest of your week.